Ashmark stood behind thick wooden walls, ringed by forest on all sides. The giants patrolled beyond the tree line. Everyone knew they were there. Everyone had lost someone to them, but the village had a defense. Every few years, when children reached the age of 13 to 16, the priest chose the strongest, the bravest, those with warrior lineage in their blood. They were brought to the temple square for the blessing ceremony. The ceremony marked them. Divine power flooded their bodies. Fire erupted across shoulders. Lightning crackled down spines. Stone hardened skin. Wind gathered in their palms. The blessed became the village's elite warriors. They ate the best food, married into the best families, lived in the finest homes near the temple. People worshipped them as living proof the gods still watched over Ashmark. On every parent prayed their child would be chosen. Every child dreamed of kneeling in that square. 2 years ago, Merek knelt there, 16 years old, son of Torvald Ashenheart. 43 children knelt in the temple square that day. Not every 16-year-old in the village, only the chosen, only those the priest deemed worthy. The head priest moved down the line. Ancient hands raised blessed oil to each forehead in turn. The first candidate received his mark. Crimson flames erupted across his shoulders, licking up his neck, dancing across his scalp without burning. The crowd roared, "Blessed! Blessed! Blessed!" The second candidate. Lightning carved jagged patterns down her arms. The chanting grew louder, one by one, stone, wind, fire again. 40 children received their marks. The crowd's fervor climbed with each blessing. Voices pitched high, shaking the square, raising the hair on Merek's neck. This was celebration, but something about it felt wrong. Too intense, too desperate. Merek watched a mother in the crowd grip her newly blessed daughter's shoulders, gripped too tightly, white knuckles. The woman leaned close, whispering, "You're safe now, safe forever." Her eyes told a different story, eyes that knew better. A senior warrior stood near the railing. Fire marks faded to dull orange along his forearms. 12 years of service showing in the dimming glow. He forced a smile as the new warriors were celebrated. The smile didn't reach his eyes. Kaya knelt beside Merek. Her hand found his, warm, steady. She squeezed once for luck. Her smile promised everything, a future, a life together among the blessed. She'd be marked soon. Then him. They'd talked about it for months. In the crowd, Merek's mother watched, her knuckles white where she gripped the wooden railing. The crowd stopped chanting, "Blessed." They started chanting his name instead. "Ashenheart! Ashenheart! Ashenheart!" His father was Torvald Ashenheart, the warrior who killed 7 giants in a single raid before falling heroically 12 years ago. Everyone remembered. Everyone expected Torvald's sun to burn brighter than any warrior before him. The priest raised the blessed oil to Merek's forehead. The square went silent. Oil touched his skin, slid off like water off glass. Nothing happened. The priest's hands trembled. He tried again, whispered a prayer under his breath, pressed the oil firmly against Merek's forehead. Nothing. Third time. The priest's face had gone pale. Nothing. The priest stepped back. He voiced barely a whisper, but the silence carried it across the entire square. "The gods have spoken. Torvald's son is refused." The crowd's silence was absolute. This didn't happen. Warrior lineage always bred warriors. The bloodline carried the gods' favor. That was the foundation of everything Ashmark believed. Kaya's hand slipped from his. Merek's mother wept, not with joy like the other parents, with shame. The priest marked Merek's forehead with gray ash, a crude X, visible to everyone. He caught his reflection in the polished temple doors, gray against pale skin. He could have run, could have fled the square, hidden himself away. Instead, he decided to endure it. Don't run. Stand still while everyone stares. Let them see him refuse to break. He knelt there until the ceremony ended, until the blessed 43 were led away to their new lives, until the crowd dispersed in uncomfortable silence. 2 years later, he worked the outer grain fields. Dawn light barely crested the eastern trees. Merek's hands worked the scythe through wheat stalks, manual labor, village edge, low status. The gray X had long since washed away, but everyone still saw it. Warning bells shattered the morning quiet. 3 giants breached the wooden palisade. Massive, purposeful, not rampaging like the stories described. They moved with intent. Villagers scattered in every direction, screaming, panic rippling outward from the breach point. Merek ran toward the village center. Instinct. Get to safety. Get behind the blessed warriors who would gather there to fight. He passed a storage shed at the field's edge, stopped, looked at the shed. It looked at the village center where the fighting would be. He chose the shed, pulled the door open, slipped inside, pressed himself against the back wall. Gaps between the wooden slats gave him a view of the village. He watched through them, breath shallow. The giants moved through the panicking crowd. Merek tracked their path. They walked within arm's reach of fleeing farmers, craftspeople, children. An old woman stumbled directly in front of the lead giant, fell to her knees right in its path. The giant stepped over her, didn't even look down. A child ran past another giant's leg, close enough to touch. The giant didn't turn its head. All 3 giants moved in unison. Their heads swiveled slowly, nostrils flaring, inhaling deeply, like they were searching for a scent. They moved toward the village center, toward where the blessed warriors were gathering, golden armor glinting in the dawn light, fire already crackling across shoulders, lightning dancing between fingertips. Merek watched civilians run in every direction, watched the giants ignore all of them. They weren't chasing anyone who ran. They were moving towards something specific. What were they smelling? The fight erupted in the village center. Oberon, the head warrior, wreathed himself in divine fire. His strike team flanked him. Lightning, stone, wind. They engaged the giants with practiced coordination. 2 giants fell quickly. Oberon's fire burned through the first one's chest. A stone-marked warrior crushed the second giant's skull with a massive conjured hammer. The 3rd giant, wounded, grabbed a fleeing blessed warrior, young woman in ceremonial armor, newly marked. Merek recognized her from last year's ceremony. The giant pulled her close, inhaled at her neck, deep, savoring. It whispered, perfect human tongue. Honey and fire, then it fed. The woman's hair grayed in seconds, brown to silver to white. Her skin wrinkled, tightened. Bones showed through flesh. She aged decades in heartbeats, collapsed to dust in the giant's grip. The giant's chest wound closed. Not completely, but the flesh knit together. Bleeding stopped. It turned, searching. Crawling now, too wounded to stand, but still hunting. Moving in Merek's direction, the impact tremors from the fight had shaken the storage shed's foundation. The wall Merek pressed against cracked. Boards fell away. The entire structure collapsed outward. He was exposed, no cover. Standing in the open field, the giant crawled closer. 20 feet, 15. Merek saw the corpse piled 10 feet to his left. Bodies of fallen blessed warriors from the initial breach. Fresh, still bleeding. Instinct drove him. The giant already fed there. It won't check again. He ran, dropped beside the corpses, pulled bodies over himself, lay motionless beneath warm flesh and cooling blood. Held his breath. The giant crawled past, massive fingers reaching through the pile. Searching. The fingers closed around a dead warrior beside Merek, inches from his face. The giant inhaled at the corpse. Fed. The body aged to dust. The giant's hand settled beside Merek's head, close enough to feel its heat. The giant's eyes shifted across the corpse pile, scanning, methodical. Its gaze passed directly over Merek's face. No pause, no recognition. The giant found another dead warrior in the pile. Fed again. Body turned to dust. Then the giant's mortal wound caught up to it. Oberon's lightning had burned through something vital, deeper than the giant realized. It convulsed. Black blood poured from its mouth, its eyes clouded over, pupils dilating, white spreading from the edges inward. Death sight settling in. The giant's clouded eyes fixed on Merek for the first time. It froze, whispered, "You, I see you now. At the threshold, I see you." Its fingers hovered over Merek's face, couldn't quite touch, like magnets repelling. The giant strained, tried to force its hand closer, couldn't. You taste like nothing, like ash, like the void between stars. The giant's voice cracked, confused, almost afraid. Why do the living dead walk among the marked? The giant's strength failed. Its massive head struck the ground beside Merek. One clouded eye stared directly at him. Wide, dying confusion in that gaze. Something like recognition. Light left the eye. 50 paces away, Oberon raised both arms in victory. Divine fire wreathed him head to toe. The crowd gathered, started chanting his name. Merek lay perfectly still. His left palm ached. The three-circle scar that had been there since early childhood burned like someone pressed hot iron against it. Why could it only see him while dying? What was the void? What did living dead mean? He decided to wait. The crowd would disperse. They'd collect the blessed warriors' bodies for proper burial. He'd slip away then. For now he lay beneath the corpses and listened to them worship Oberon's name. Evening came. Merek returned to his shack on the village edge. Single room, straw mattress against one wall, rainwater barrel in the corner, and roof that leaked when it stormed. He stripped off his blood-soaked clothes, dropped them in a pile, filled a wooden bowl from the barrel, washed the dried blood from his hands, his face, his hair, sat on the edge of the mattress, stared at the trunk, father's trunk, the only thing left of Torvald Ashmark besides stories and expectations. Merek opened it. The hinges creaked. Inside, a few books, old letters tied with string, a worn leather journal. He'd read the journal dozens of times. Father's battle records, victories against giants, strategies, observations about divine fire, and how it responded to different combat situations. Torvald had been a methodical warrior. Every entry detailed, every lesson preserved. Merek opened to the final entry, written the night before the raid that took his father 12 years ago. Most of it he'd memorized. Plans for the next day's patrol, notes about a giant scout pattern near the eastern forest, concerns about low blessed warrior count after 2 had recently passed from old age. Then the final paragraph. The mark appeared on Merek's palm today. 3 circles, faint but unmistakable. Same as mine. If my son bears the mark. The rest of the sentence was torn away. The page ripped cleanly along the binding. Someone had removed it deliberately. Merek stared at his left palm. 3 interlocking rings, perfectly symmetrical. The center point where all 3 circles met formed a tiny star. He'd had it since he was 3 years old. Appeared overnight. His mother had been terrified. His father had told her it was nothing. A birthmark. Something that would fade. It never faded. The giant's dying words echoed in his head. You taste like nothing. Like ash. Like the void between stars. Why do the living dead walk among the marked? What did his father know? Who tore the page? What did this mark have to do with why giants couldn't smell him? He needed to test whether he was truly invisible to them. If he was, maybe he could use it. Maybe he could protect Kaya. Kaya. Merek thought through what he knew. She was a blessed lightning warrior, marked 2 years ago in the same ceremony that refused him. Her power had grown quickly, purple-white arcs that could shatter stone. She was engaged to Oberon now, the head warrior, the hero everyone worshipped. The festival of Ascension was in 2 days. She'd received the second blessing then, amplification of power. If giants hunted blessed warriors, Kaya was already in danger. With amplification, she'd draw more of them. And unless he could figure out how to hide her, he had to test the invisibility tonight. Forest edge, giant scouts. That night, Merek walked to the forest edge, suicidal. He knew it. Every step closer to the tree line felt like walking toward his own end. He found a giant scout crouched behind a cluster of ancient oaks, 30 feet tall, eyes fixed on the village walls, nostrils flaring, watching, waiting. Merek's heart hammered against his ribs. He forced himself to keep walking, directly toward it. 20 feet, 10 feet, 5 feet, 3 feet. He could reach out and touch its ankle. The scout's head turned slowly, scanning the forest. Eyes passed right over Merek. No pause, no flicker of recognition. The scout sniffed the air, deep inhale through massive nostrils. Nothing, no reaction. From the village, the gate opened. Woody Oberon emerged with three other blessed warriors. Evening patrol, fire and lightning illuminating the darkness. Golden armor gleaming. The scout's head snapped toward them instantly. Inhaled deep. Merek heard it clearly. The scout whispered to itself in perfect human tongue. Honey and fire. 4 marked. Good harvest tonight. The scout watched them pass along the wall. Didn't attack. Just watched. Counted. Then withdrew deeper into the forest. Branches barely moved as something that massive slipped between trees. Merek's invisibility was confirmed, but the word the scout used, harvest, it sat wrong, cold, transactional. Not how an animal speaks, not how a mindless monster speaks. Giants didn't attack during raids by accident. They were choosing, waiting, counting. Merek didn't know what it meant yet, but it was deliberate. Whatever was happening to blessed warriors, someone on the giant's side was managing it. Why didn't it attack now? 4 blessed warriors right there. Easy targets. What was it waiting for? What did harvest mean coming from something that spoke in perfect human tongue? He needed answers that invisibility alone couldn't give him. Merek returned to the village. His mind raced. Every path forward branched into a dozen possibilities. Every possibility ended in disaster. He found old Veth drinking outside the tavern, blessed with minor stone power 20 years ago. Too frail to fight now. Skin still carried the faint gray shimmer of his mark. Merek approached, opened his mouth to speak. Veth looked at him with tired eyes. What is it? Refused. Merek froze. What would he even say? Giants only hunt blessed warriors. Sinners, so you should give up your blessing? The thing that gives you status, safety, purpose? He thought through every way it could go wrong. Veth panics, tells the priests. Priests execute Merek before he can reach Kaya. Or worse, they dismiss him as insane. Ignore the warning. People get harvested anyway. Too many variables. Too many ways it destroyed more than it saved. Merek backed away, said nothing. Veth returned to his drink. Merek stood in the shadows, hating himself. He had information that could save lives. He was doing nothing with it. That night, Merek broke into the head priest's study, the temple administrative wing. He knew the layout. Used to help his father deliver reports here when Torval was an active warrior. Before the raid, before everything, simple lock. Merek had learned to pick them working maintenance in the outer village. Nobody watched the refuse too closely. He slipped inside, waited in the darkness behind the door. The priest returned after evening prayers. Footsteps in the hallway, key in the lock. The door opened. The priest stepped through. Merek was already there, knife at the priest's throat. The priest went rigid. Terror flooded his face. Merek had never been violent, never raised his voice, always been the quiet laborer who kept his head down and accepted his place. Merek kicked the door shut. Why do giants hunt blessed warriors specifically? The priest tried to speak, voice shaking. You're insane. Merek pressed the blade harder, drew a thin line of blood. I watched a giant ignore me and hunt them. I walked within 3 feet of a scout tonight, and it couldn't smell me. Why? The priest's face drained of color. You walked near a scout? Answer me. The priest's resistance broke. His whole body sagged, voice dropping to a whisper. The covenant, the treaty signed 300 years ago. What treaty? The gods mark blessed warriors with divine scent, honey and fire. It makes them powerful, but it also marks them as tribute. Giants agreed to limit their raids in exchange for guaranteed harvest. They only take the marked. Merek's knife hand trembled. You're sacrificing them? The priest met his eyes, defiant and ashamed simultaneously. We're protecting everyone else. Before the covenant, giants took anyone. Hundreds ceased breathing every raid. Children, elderly, everyone. Now it's only blessed and they fall as heroes. They fall as bait. The priest didn't look away. Yes, willing bait. They volunteer for glory and don't know they're volunteering for harvest. It's kept civilization alive for 3 centuries. If you're hooked on this story and want to know what happens next, hit subscribe. New episodes drop regularly, and trust me, this gets darker. Merek's hand found his chest, where the blessing mark should have been, where oil slid off his skin like water off glass. What am I? The priest looked genuinely afraid now. You're an anomaly. The gods refused you because... He gestured at Merek's left palm. You're marked by something older, something that predates the covenant. What mark? The erasure mark. The anti-covenant. It removes divine scent entirely. Bearers carry no divine energy, not even the potential for it. You're void marked. Well, you taste like nothing because you are nothing to their senses. Merek's knife hand trembled. My father had this mark. I've seen it in his journal, but he was blessed. How? The priest's face went pale. That shouldn't be possible. I don't know how. Your father's case was anomalous. He hid it from us. By the time we suspected, he was already slipping away. We never understood. The priest's voice dropped to a terrified whisper. Those who bear erasure marks are watched by older things than gods, things that enforce the first covenant, before our gods made their treaty. If you use that mark carelessly, he trailed off. Merek released the priest, stepped back, stared at his palm, 3 circles glowing faint silver in the darkness. The priest rubbed his throat. Red line where the blade had pressed. Your father carried the same mark. Hey, he knew what it meant. That's why the journal page is torn. He was trying to warn you, but someone censored it. Someone who didn't want you knowing what you could do. Who censored the journal? Could the mark be used to hide others? What were these older things that watched mark bearers? Merek turned toward the door. The priest called after him. Where are you going? Merek didn't answer. He needed to find out if the mark could be transferred. Tonight. Merek walked through the night streets, mind reeling. Everything the priest said echoed in his skull. Covenant, treaty, harvest. He reached the family shrine on the eastern edge of the square. Small stone structure, candles burned in niches along the walls. Father's scorched gauntlets sat on a wooden pedestal. 12 years since Torvald Ashenheart fell. Merek stared at them. Leather blackened by divine fire, metal warped from heat. The gauntlets still smelled like ash when the wind shifted. Father had the erasure mark too. The priest confirmed it. The journal entry proved it. But what did Father actually know? The journal page was torn. The priest said Torvald hid the mark, that he slipped away before they understood his case. Merek didn't know what his father knew. He knew Father had the mark. He knew Father chose to become a blessed warrior anyway. Married a blessed woman, tried to hide the mark, tried to be a hero. Whatever Father knew or didn't know, it ceased to matter 12 years ago when a giant fed on him in the eastern forest. Merek wouldn't make the same choice. He'd save Kaya, but first he needed to know if the mark could transfer. He needed a volunteer. Merek returned to the tavern. Deveth still sat there. Same spot. Nursing the same wine. Same man Merek couldn't warn an hour ago. This time Merek didn't hesitate. He pulled up a chair, sat across from the old warrior. I can make you invisible to giants, remove your divine scent, but it will cost you your blessing. Veth stared at him. You're the refused. Yes, and I'm offering protection. Accept or don't. I need to know if it works. Veth looked at his gnarled hands, at the faint stone shimmer in his skin. Gray light that pulsed with his heartbeat. Veth's voice came quiet. I'm 73. Stone blessings saved my life twice when I was young. Once in the southern raid. Once when the palisade collapsed and crushed my legs. Healed in 3 days instead of never walking again. He turned his hands over, examining them. But I'm too old to fight now. Every raid I hide and wait and wonder if this is the time they find me anyway. If this is the time I don't make it to morning. His voice dropped lower. My grandson watched me come home from the last one, shaking so bad I couldn't hold a cup. I don't want him to see what comes next. Long pause. Wind rattled the tavern shutters. Veth looked up, met Merek's eyes. Yes, I accept. Do it. Merek pressed his scarred palm to Veth's chest. The 3 circles blazed white-hot. Light spread across Veth's skin like cracks spreading through ice. The pattern burned itself into flesh. 3 interlocking rings, center point forming a star. The sky flickered overhead, brief pulse of wrong darkness. Stars appearing for half a second where stars shouldn't be visible through cloud cover, then snapping back to normal night. Veth gasped, not pain, Loss. It's gone! It's gone! It's gone! He clawed at his chest, fingers scraping the new mark. I can't feel the gods anymore. I can't feel anything. It's just void, empty. I'm empty. Veth collapsed forward, sobbing. Merek's hand shook. The marking worked. Veth was invisible to giants now. The divine scent erased. Gone. Merek looked up at the sky, searching the darkness. Nothing. But he'd felt something watching, just for a moment, during that flicker. He waited. After 5 minutes, Veth looked up, face wet with tears. But I'm free, aren't I? Free of the fear. I'll survive the next raid. His voice broke. My grandson won't have to watch me age to dust. Merek helped him stand. Veth staggered away, marked hand pressed to his chest, still crying. Merek stood alone in the empty street. Would Kaya survive the marking emotionally? What if he forced it without consent? What was watching during that sky flicker? Next morning, the village erupted in festival preparation. Banners hung from every building, red and gold silk rippling in the wind. Ceremonial oil vendors set up stalls in the square. Children practiced ember hymns in clusters, their voices high and off-key. Merek watched from a distance as 3 candidates began purification rituals, Kaya among them, escorted by priests in white robes into the temple, her hair unbound, lightning crackling faintly around her fingertips even now before the ceremony. Oberon stood at the temple entrance, watching candidates enter. Then his eyes found Merek across the square. Oberon's gaze locked on, didn't waver. He gestured to 2 senior warriors beside him, fire-marked, stone-marked, where they began moving through the crowd toward Merek. Merek retreated into the outer district, slipped between buildings, gone before they reached him. That evening, Oberon visited Veth's home. Veth's family had found him sobbing in the corner, unable to explain. They called temple healers. Healers found the 3-circle mark on his skin, reported it immediately. Oberon stood in Veth's doorway, flames dancing along his shoulders, not aggressive, just present, constant. He said, "Who did this?" Veth wouldn't answer. Oberon grabbed his marked hand, examined the circles. "Erasure mark, anti-covenant." He looked at Veth's face, tear-streaked, hollow-eyed. Oberon's voice went quiet, not angry, sad. "You think you're free now? You think he saved you?" He leaned closer. "You're violated, empty. He stole your blessing, your connection to the divine, when without understanding what it means to serve. I know what the treaty is, old man. I know blessed warriors are marked for harvest. Every senior warrior knows. We choose it. We choose to burn bright and brief rather than live as hollow shells in your void." Oberon touched his own fire mark, something like reverence in the gesture. Better to fall divine than survive empty. The refused doesn't understand that. He thinks salvation is taking away what makes us ourselves. He released Veth, turned to the warriors at the door. "Find the refused. Bring him to me alive. He cannot be allowed to reach Kaya." Warriors searched the outer district, checking shacks, questioning neighbors, methodical, systematic. Merek hid in an abandoned warehouse, watched through gaps in the walls as they moved building to building. Oberon's strategy was deliberate, eliminating safe houses one by one, tightening the net. Merek calculated, maybe 12 hours before they found him. 12 hours before Kaya's ceremony began. He needed a desperate risk. Enter the temple tonight. Find Kaya directly. Night before the festival. Merek entered the temple through the servant entrance. He knew the layout from childhood, used to play in these halls with Kaya before the marks divided them. Before she became blessed and he became refused, he found her in the purification chamber, alone, meditating before the final ritual, white ceremonial robes, hair unbound, lightning crackling faintly around her fingers. On the wall behind her, Kaya's name was carved into the warrior memorial stone. When among honored fighters who fell in previous raids, she'd placed it there herself. Tradition for those receiving second blessing, acknowledgement of the risk. Merek stepped into the chamber. Kaya opened her eyes. Shock flashed across her face. Then anger. She said, "You can't be here. This chamber is sacred. I need to talk to you." Merek showed his palm. 3 circles glowing silver in the candlelight. Kaya stared. "What is that?" Merek told her. "The erasure mark, the treaty, 300 years of covenant. Blessed warriors were tribute, marked for harvest. Giants only hunted them because of the divine scent. The head priest confirmed it. Tomorrow's amplification would make her even more visible to them." Kaya's face hardened. "That's heresy. I forced the head priest to tell me. Giants call it honey and fire. They can smell you. Stop!" Lightning crackled brighter around her hands. "I don't know what lies you've convinced yourself of, but I won't hear this. I'm blessed by the gods. I serve my people. Tomorrow I marry Oberon and receive second blessing." "You'll be prey! Get out!" Merek reached for her wrist. She pulled away. Lightning surged up her arms. "Don't touch me. I said no. Whatever you think that mark does, no." Her voice broke. "You're jealous. You've always been jealous since the ceremony, since I was blessed and you were refused. But I won't let you poison this for me." Guards arrived at the chamber entrance, boots on stone, hands on weapons. Kaya pointed at Merek. "Remove him." Merek backed away, hands raised. He saw it clearly now. Oberon's engagement ring on her finger, gold band with a fire ruby. Her eyes held no recognition of their childhood, their friendship, what they used to be. Her name on the memorial stone. She chose to put it there. She'd already chosen. Merek fled before the guards reached him. Behind him, he heard Kaya crying. But not for him. Not for what he'd said. For the choice she'd already made. That night passed in shallow, fitful sleep. Merek woke every hour, checked the forest edge through his window, listened for the sound of approaching footsteps. Festival morning arrived. Clear skies. The entire village gathered in the temple square. Thousands of bodies pressed together. Before the ceremony began, the head priest performed a ritual Merek had never seen. Drew a protective circle around the platform with blessed oil, thick golden lines forming intricate patterns. Chanted in a language older than common tongue. In words that hurt to hear, that sat wrong in the air. The priest raised both arms. "We invoke the watchers who keep covenant balanced. We call upon the ancient witnesses. We ask their blessing on this union of divine purpose." Merek watched from the crowd's edge, hood pulled low, the gray X on his forehead still visible to anyone who looked closely. Guards everywhere, scanning faces, searching. He blended into the massive crowd. Just another body, just another witness. On the raised platform, 3 candidates knelt in ceremonial white. Kaya in the center, radiant, dark hair braided with silver thread, hands steady on her thighs. Oberon stood beside the platform in full blessed armor, flames dancing along his gauntlets, fire spear strapped across his back, eyes scanning the crowd, methodical, searching for Merek. The head priest's voice carried across the square. "We gather to witness covenant renewed. 3 souls offered themselves to divine purpose. 3 shall receive amplification." The crowd chanted in unison, "Burn bright, burn bright, burn bright." The first candidate received stone amplification. The priest's hand touched his forehead. The candidate's skin hardened to granite. Veins glowed molten orange beneath the surface. The crowd roared. The second candidate received wind amplification. Air whirled around her, lifted her hair, spun her robes. She laughed with pure joy. Kaya knelt. As the priest's hand touched her forehead, the sky flickered. Same wrong darkness from Veth's marking. Brief, dismissed by most observers as cloud shadow. Lightning erupted, massive arcs of blue-white electricity across the platform, through Kaya's hair, in between her fingers, branching patterns that scorched the wooden boards beneath her feet. Terrifying. Beautiful. The crowd chanted her name. "Kaya! Kaya! Kaya!" She stood. Lightning settled into a controlled aura around her body, crackling softly, constant. She turned to Oberon, took his hand. They faced the priest together. The priest's voice rang out. "Before gods and people, I bind these 2 in blessed union." Vows spoken, crowd celebrated, drums pounded, voices raised. From the forest, Merek heard it. The sound of approaching giants, not scouts, not a raid party, a horde, 50, maybe more, drawn by Kaya's amplified scent from miles away. The ceremony ended. Kaya and Oberon descended the platform. Surrounded by well-wishers, she laughed, showed her amplified lightning to childhood friends, arcs dancing between her palms. Genuinely happy, the forest sound grew, crashing through trees, ground shaking, impact tremors. The first giant emerged from the tree line, then the second, third, 10, 20, 50, massive horde, pulled by the amplified honey and fire scent like moths to flame. Villagers at the crowd's edge noticed. Screaming began, bodies surging away from the forest, crushing inward. Warning bells rang. Blessed warriors formed a defensive line. Oberon's voice cut through the chaos. Shield formation! Protect the amplified! Too many giants. This wasn't a raid. This was slaughter on a massive scale. The warriors would be overwhelmed in minutes. Kaya saw the horde, saw their eyes, all of them fixed on her. Electricity crackled brighter around her body, fear response, making her even more visible. She still thought her power would protect her. Oberon's eyes found Merek across the square, their gazes locked. Oberon's face showed grief, not anger, recognition of what was happening. He knew Merek was right to warn her, but his choice was made. A fire spear formed in Oberon's hand, not aimed at giants, aimed at Merek. Oberon's voice carried across the square. I won't let you touch her. Better she falls divine than lives hollow. Better we all burn than become what you are. Merek's palm burned, 3 circles glowing white hot. He saw 3 options. Run and hide. Invisible to giants, he'd survive. Watch from a distance as the horde fed on Kaya. Safe, cowardly. She'd age to dust while he did nothing. Force his way to her, touch her without consent, remove her blessing, save her life, destroy her identity, possibly break her the way Veth broke. Let Oberon's spear end him, clean, simple. Kaya would remain prey. At least she'd fall with her choice intact. 3 impossible options, all of them destroyed something. Merek ran toward the platform. Oberon's fire spear tracked him. Giants charged from the forest, targeting blessed warriors, but they'd reach Kaya first, her amplified scent pulling them like a magnet. Blessed warriors engaged the horde at the square's edge. Fire, lightning, stone crashing against giant flesh. Warriors falling, bodies aging to dust in giant hands. Chaos spreading. Merek dodged through the panicking crowd, bodies slamming into him, shoving, screaming. Oberon fired. The spear missed by inches, scorched the ground where Merek had been. Heat blistered the air. Oberon charged, second spear forming in his hand. 50 feet, 30 feet. Kaya stood on the platform, frozen. He watching Merek run toward her, watching Oberon chase him, watching giants tear through the warrior line. Lightning surged defensively around her body. She still didn't understand what was happening. The lead giant broke through the warrior line. 30 feet tall, eyes locked on Kaya. It inhaled deeply, smiled, charged. 10 seconds to the platform. Merek was 20 feet away. Oberon 10 feet behind him. Third spear forming. This one wouldn't miss. Merek's hand outstretched, palm glowing. 3 circles blazing. Kaya saw him coming, saw his hand, saw the circles, remembered his warning in the purification chamber. She whispered, "No." Then louder, "No!" Merek didn't stop, giant 5 seconds away. Oberon's spear ignited, aimed at Merek's spine. Merek's fingers closed on Kaya's wrist. 3 circles flared. Lightning surged in response. Both marks fighting for dominance inside Kaya's body. Divine energy and anti-divine void crashing together. Kaya screamed. The sound cut through everything. Through the crowd noise. Through the giant roars. Through the clash of blessed warriors and monsters. Her lightning turned black. Writhing. Wrong. The circles bled crimson. Colors that shouldn't exist. Something breaking. Something fundamental. The sky went dark. Not gradually. Instantly. Noon became midnight. Wrong stars overhead. Constellations that had never existed. Patterns that hurt to look at. Reality frayed at the edges. Every giant froze mid-charge. Every blessed warrior stopped mid-strike. Every bird fell silent mid-flight. Kaya convulsed on the platform, both marks burning, lightning and circles alternating pulses, her skeleton visible through translucent flesh, wind blood running black from where the marks met on her skin. The priest's protective circle around the platform began glowing. Not protection, summoning beacon. From the void sky, something descended, too large to comprehend fully. Its edges disappeared into non-space. When it opened what might be eyes, there were hundreds of them, all sizes, all fixed on Merek. The voice shook the ground, came from everywhere. Inside his skull, under his feet, through his bones. Forced covenant violation detected. Merek's palm split open, not bleeding. Roots of light spreading beneath his skin, crawling up his forearm toward his heart. Anti-covenant bearer has broken sacred law. The giant horde began moving again, but not toward blessed warriors, toward Merek, all of them, eyes empty, bodies puppeted by the descending thing. The erasure will be harvested. Kaya's convulsions intensified. Both marks flared simultaneously. Her body arched, bones cracking. Oberon's frozen spear reignited. He moved again, charging the final 10 feet toward Merek's exposed back. On the platform, Kaya's eyes opened, pupils wrong, split between blue electricity and void black emptiness. She looked at Merek, opened her mouth. Voice came out doubled, her voice and something else, speaking simultaneously. What have you done to me? I feel them both. I feel everything. Merek, I understand now. I understand what Father tried to... Three pressures converging. Oberon's spear. 1 second from Merek's spine. Giant horde puppeted by the descending entity. All converging. Roots of light spreading past Merek's elbow. Reaching toward his heart. Kaya transforming between states. Neither blessed nor void. Trying to finish the sentence about Father's warning. Merek's eyes locked on Kaya's split pupils. His hand reached toward... Who? Oberon to block the spear. Kaya to try reversing the mark. His own chest to rip out the spreading roots. His mouth opened. Beginning of a word formed. His foot shifted weight. Toward which direction? Toward which choice? Kaya's doubled voice. What Father tried to warn... Oberon's spear tip glowing white-hot, giant hands reaching, roots spreading past his elbow. Comment part 2 right now if you need to know what happens next. I'm only continuing this for people who are actually locked in. I need to know you're invested.